Hope Porn 101. August 7, 2019 by Anna von Reitz. Lots of people are attracted to hope porn and believe all sorts of weird things that absolve them from responsibility for taking action and doing a lot of hard work. It's a learned laziness syndrome that comes from being a dependent, someone who isn't self-motivated and who naturally waits for instructions and solutions provided by someone else or some organization like the government or the church outside of themselves and their own efforts. Yet we all have plenty of experience that should tell us that the world doesn't really work that way, that there is no free lunch, and that sitting around waiting for help to arrive, especially when you are depending on the U.S. Congress to deliver it, is a vain exercise. Take Nesara for example. The Nesara legislation hasn't moved a quarter of an inch in a quarter of a century, and it's not going to either, at the rate things are going. Just go look it up on thomas.com. Prove it to yourselves. You are being fed nonsense. There's nothing to wait for. It was a well-intended effort back in the day. And so what? Today I read another completely ridiculous article on the Nesara news website, this one being promoted by the Michigan General Jural Assembly, which must have been hijacked by idiots. They went off track when they lost sight of what a state is and failed to establish the standing of their members to assemble an actual State of the Union, and have since then compounded their errors. Now we are told, rather gratuitously, that all the publicly traded corporations on Wall Street have been nationalized, and oh, rejoice, rejoice. Not. What has happened is that the United States, Inc., which entered involuntary bankruptcy in 2015, is being liquidated, and any corporation merely presumed to be a franchise of the United States, Inc. is being seized upon as chattel to pay back their debts. Hello, are you the party to whom I am speaking? That includes John Michael Doe, folks, and John M. Doe and John Doe, and all those derivative public trusts, public transmitting utilities, and public charitable trusts named after you, too. This means your property and your assets are under attack so long as you are accepting these municipal persons as being anything related to you. You, your home, your bank accounts, everything you think you own, is being misidentified as public property owned by the municipal United States government. If you don't exempt yourself from the muni courts, their trustees will come in and take everything. If you don't further defend against the British territorial courts, the Queen will turn you over to the Pope's Inquisition. Talk about being between a rock and a hard place. The same, of course, goes for all the publicly traded corporations that aren't under private ownership. Millions of American businesses misidentified as municipal franchises or as belonging to municipal franchisees like Mark D. Clemson will be under attack in municipal district courts. The franchises and their assets are forfeit to the creditors, and yes, if we are standing in our proper political status, we are creditors. We are the priority creditors in fact. How many of you are in your proper political status? Let's see a show of hands. Won't be anyone from the Michigan General Jural Assembly in proper status, and that's for sure, because they missed the boat and the whole point of the exercise. So now they are out there crowing about this great victory and still don't understand that they've shot themselves in the foot. So long as they do this, they get all of the heat and none of the fun. Dead territorial U.S. citizens can't profit from this liquidation nor act as creditors. They will be attacked along with everyone else, and they won't know what to say or do to protect their assets. So they will go on losing their homes and their bank accounts and being the goats, when they could exercise their option to be priority creditors, instead. The American States Assembly is the only organization that is properly organized and standing in the way of this outcome. It's the only group that has vetted its membership and required the mandatory political status correction to be able to act in the priority creditor role. As American nationals and American state citizens, we can demand that the IRS settle any such debts by offsetting them against the American national credit, which has been sequestered from the bankruptcy. Naturally, only Americans can access the American national credit. Americans misidentified as British territorial United States citizens that have been declared legally dead on top of everything else can't access the national credit they are owed. Americans misidentified as municipal United States citizens or as citizens of the United States are, if possible, even more SOL. Only those who claim their exemptions and who reclaim their birthright political status as Americans will be able to pass through the eye of this needle. Naturally, too, as time goes on, your motivations for reclaiming your birthright political status will be questioned. People will look at you and think, well, you are acting in a self-interested fashion. You went to the party and drank the wine, and now you don't want to pay the cover charge. It's hard to prove on a case-by-case basis that you were never told anything about all these claims being made about you and about your property, even though there are millions of Americans in the same boat who can honestly claim the same thing. And that is the reason why it is absolutely necessary for us to form our state assemblies and to vet our membership to be sure that everyone is functioning as an American and nothing else at all, so that we aren't picked off one by one and left standing all alone with a doodad in our hair and a lame uncorroborated story about how nobody told us what was going on and what was being alleged about us and our political status. So, judge for yourselves what comes around. The current leadership of the MGJA is crowing happily about the demise of corporate America, not realizing that their own dogs are still in that fight. Meanwhile, the American States Assembly is working overtime in every state of the Union to educate and enable people to save themselves and their country from this foreign economic warfare. We aren't selling any hope porn and we aren't making any mistakes. If you do the work and learn the facts, you will have help and you will have knowledge to protect yourselves and your assets. If not, well, you can go bankrupt just like the parent corporation. You get to keep a home, mortgaged to the hilt in most cases, and a car and $8,000 of personal property. See this article and over 1,900 others on my website here, www.annavonreitz.com. To support this work, look for the PayPal buttons on my website.